Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, good afternoon, Dr. Drake, or evening. How are you today?
I guess it depends on what part of the country you're in still, but I'm in Texas, so it's hot here and it's starting to cool down a little bit. I'm doing well, thank you. How's your
Good.
day been?
It's not been too bad. We've been busy, which is a good thing to be right now. We're in Florida, and today it was about 90 degrees, so it's warmed up quite a bit. We got rid of the tropical storm and the outer band, so we're back to sunny skies again. So it's a great day here in Florida. So I'm really excited to be on here with you tonight. I don't get an opportunity to do it very often. I dropped in the place of Dr. Yatros tonight because he's doing that virtual GPS course. So he's doing one thing, and he asked me to fill in for him, so it's a pleasure.
Yeah, for those of you who noticed, she's got a little more hair than Guy does, and I can make all the hair jokes I want because I don't have any hardly. So,
Absolutely.
all right, well let's get started. You know, this is always a popular topic. You know, I think when you in your description of the course, I think you hit it head on when you said, you know, this is one of the biggest impediment, I believe is the word that you use to dental sleep medicine success. And, you know, you have to remember, you know, when you go to a CE course or you do that, you know, you're excited about this, you've learned something, but you remember, you know, this is how your staff feels when you come back, you know, to the office. They're like, you know, what do we have to do now? And if you throw this burden of insurance onto somebody who already feels like they're overworked, you know, that's not going to go over well. So, you know, we've been trained as dentists to do some of this stuff. I mean, I could do a root canal on you. You probably do okay. You wouldn't want me to do an implant on you. I've never done one. You know, my wife actually chipped a tooth the other day, and I got my new trifocals, and I was like, where is it? And she was so sweet. She said, you wouldn't be offended if the other dentist did the filling, would you? I said, no, not at all. So, you know, I haven't picked up a handpiece in 20 years, so you probably wouldn't want me doing a filling anyway.
Right.
But, you know, you think about, you know, not many of us are traveling these days, but you get on a plane, you know, and the pilot says, I don't feel too good today. You know, you're going to jump up there and go ahead and fly. You know, I guess some of you could do that, but you know, I think part of being good at what you do is knowing your limitations.
Right.
You know, and this is one of those things that if I could reach through this little camera and slap all of you out there, I would do that. I would slap you and say, you know, hire somebody to do this. It doesn't cost that much money. You know, until you learn all of the ropes and all of that. And hopefully that tonight, it will be part of that learning process. You know, you're going to learn a lot about different ways you can bill, and we're going to talk about Medicare and, you know, in network and out of network and things like that. So, you know, don't, Mike is on with us, and Brandy as well. They'll be doing some of our team, and they'll be answering some of the questions tonight. If you have those, please put them in the question box. Okay, that's the one that we monitor. So, all right, well, let's get started.
Absolutely. So, like Dr. Drake said, if you've been trained to do a root canal, trust me, you wouldn't want me doing any of that. I've never done anything before that like that in my life, and so I would not begin to be comfortable. So, the overall question is, then why in the world would you think that you should be doing anything with medical billing? You know, the simple answer at the end of the day is use a third-party billing company. If nothing else, at least for 6 to 9 months, if you want to bring it back in-house, you're going to be learning so much about dental sleep, you know, all the facets of actually the clinical piece of that. You don't want to get your team or yourself bogged down into trying to learn billing as well. It can be difficult. Guess the reason why I've always enjoyed billing so much is because I live in a state of chaos most of my life. So it seems to be right in my wheelhouse because it's ever evolving and changing. So, Dr. Drake, if you don't mind, introduce yourself in case people don't know you. I'm sure that that's probably rare, but I would, you know, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, you know, I did general dentistry for 12 or 13 years, and I had carpal tunnel surgery on both hands and cubital tunnel, and I woke up one day, you know, bent over like that, and I never could straighten out, and I just looked at my wife and said, "Do we have enough money to retire?" And she said, "No." And I said, "Wow, what am I going to do?" So it's kind of fortuitous that a friend who runs a local lab said, "Hey, there's a guy coming in town. He's talking about sleep apnea." Probably like the typical dentist. I didn't even know what sleep apnea was,
Right.
and this is 20 years ago now. So, and I've been involved with the AADSM, and I'm on the faculty at the UT Dental School here in San Antonio. And Guy and I put our heads together, and we started Dental Sleep Solutions just to help dentists do this and to do it better.
That's
And
awesome.
my practice in San Antonio, I have a few other doctors who work with me. We have a couple of locations now, and before all of this COVID-19 stuff hit, we're doing 100 devices a month. So
It's amazing.
March was it started down. April, I think, hopefully was the bottom. May it actually picked back up just a little bit. So we're hoping that it's turning around here, but we stay very busy. And I will tell you, part of what Lisa is going to teach you tonight is a system for doing this. And I'll tell you what, if you don't think 100 dental sleep devices is a lot, I'm telling you, it's a lot. And if you don't have everything down for how you do this, from the first phone call all the way to the end, so that's part of what we want you to get out of this tonight, is at least the insurance part of this. And that's the biggest, it's probably the weakest link in that chain. We think about, it takes several things to make dental sleep work in your practice, and the one that breaks most often is the insurance. So I've been doing this a long time, and hopefully we can help you guys tonight.
Absolutely.
And yourself.
So, since the dental sleep medicine guy isn't here, you've got the billing gal. So, and that's the only joke I've got tonight. I promise. That's it. That's all I've got. So, I am the director of member communications for Dental Sleep Solutions and for Pillar Billing. I worked at a college in Kentucky, where I'm originally from, and I worked in the medical administrative and billing program there. So I taught 3 classes in the evening, so stayed fairly busy, plus a full-time job. And I have about 25 years of medical insurance experience. Started at Humana in Kentucky several years ago, about 25 plus, and recently just joined the AAPC, which is the American Academy of Professional Coders. So recently just joined that. I'm not a certified coder, but you have to belong to that to get some other certifications. So I have a lot of experience, and like I said, live in the state of chaos, and this is one of those things that falls right into that wheelhouse, I'm afraid, when we talk about medical insurance, because it's ever evolving and changing. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to thank DSG, or Dental Service Group, tonight for being our sponsor this evening. They're a great partner for us, and we're excited to have them participate with us. And if you stick around long enough, there's going to be a little bit of a gift at the end, I guess, for the lack of a better term, or a discount that you'll be able to use with Dental Sleep Group or Service Group. And we want to make sure that we get that to everybody that can take advantage of that tonight. They are an excellent organization. They have a national network as well as some local care as well, which is exciting. And they do a little bit of everything, so they can help you with your dental practice as well as sleep. So it's just a full service dental laboratory. So we're, again, glad to have them partnered with us tonight. So wanted to get that out there. Like Dr. Drake was talking about, you need to have systems in place to make sure that you're able to focus on dental sleep medicine within your practice. You can have different software, you can have different programs. There's a variety of them that are out there, but it's just important to have systems, not just a computer system, but other systems in place, the way you communicate with physicians, business decisions about how you want to treat insurance, and financial conversations. And you just have to have that full service system in place. But the first thing that you really need to do is start looking at some insurance decisions. So some of the ones that you're going to want to take into consideration is, are you going to participate or non-participate with Medicare? Are you going to see Medicare patients? You also have an in and out of network option with your commercial insurance policies. That's the Humanas, Aetnas, and the Blues across the United States. Or you could do a cash fee or a fee for service option. So those are some decisions that you need to make based on your business model and what you're looking for in regards to doing. So that's one of the first steps that you'll need to take. As we know, everybody comes into the office and they're immediately pull out every ID card in the world that they have in their wallet. They will give you everything from their auto to their medical to home, you name it, they're going to pull out an ID card. And they a lot of times don't know what's primary and what's secondary and what's any of that information. So we're going to investigate a little bit further into some of those topics tonight, but I'm going to start out with Medicare. The first thing is, don't be afraid of Medicare. I hear a lot of talk in different arenas and meetings that I've gone to, and a lot of physicians, dentists specifically, are terrified of Medicare. They don't want that government looking at them. They don't want, to be exposed to any of that. But I encourage you to don't be afraid of that. I think there's a amazing opportunity out there for Medicare patients. So just as a recap in regards to Medicare, your Medicare patients, it's a federal insurance program. It's not Medicaid. It's not welfare. Typically, people are 65 and older, or they're disabled in most instances if they have the opportunity to have Medicare. So there's a really good opportunity to treat these people or patients that come into your office that are Medicare eligible. And we're going to review a little more detail about Medicare as well. But at the end of the day, providing treatment for these specific people is just the right thing to do. Dr. Yatros says that quite a bit. I'm sure that Dr. Drake, you feel the same when it comes to Medicare, and you're a Medicare provider as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, in just a few years, I'll be a Medicare patient as well. So I think as I get older, it's certainly the right thing to do. But, I forget how many people turn 65 every week in the United States. It's like 10,000 people or something like that. You guys might have to fact check that for me, but it is a bunch. And depending on where you are and what part of the country you're in, etc., if you're not doing it, you're leaving a lot on the table. I will tell you that. I think that sometimes when you do sleep and you open up the Medicare, people come in and they really like you, and then they want to come see you, or they want to tell their daughter about you and things like that. So it's also a different way to market your own general dental practice as well, but it's certainly the right thing to do.
Absolutely. And Medicare, what it has on here is, the first thing is it's a global fee. What a global fee is, it's all inclusive. It's packaged up in a bundle, so they call it bundling. And E0486 is the code that you would bill to Medicare for the dental device. And there's different regional reimbursements, and we'll go into each one of those as well. Medicare, you know what their allowable amount is, which I'll show you in the next couple of slides based on your region. And some regions are better than others. You'll find out why Dr. Drake and Dr. Yatros probably want to move to another region when we review that slide and how it impacts them. But Medicare will pay 80% of the allowable amount, and the patient would be responsible for the 20% if they did not have a supplemental insurance. Most, if not all, patients carry a supplemental policy. So you could, on a Medicare patient, get up to at least the Medicare allowable, and in some instances up to your full billable fee. So there's some opportunities there as well. You have to follow the strict Medicare guidelines in regards to the device selection and other requirements regarding home sleep testing, because you can't request that yourself. It has to be through their primary care physician. So there's a lot of things in there that are a little restrictive, but it's one of the easiest insurances to bill and have financial conversations about, because you know what you're going to get paid. So
yeah, that's a good point, because, some of the other ones, especially if you're not in network, and again, we're going to talk about this, what do they allow? They're going to pay 80%, but 80% of what,
Yeah.
And with Medicare, if you live in the far Northeast, they allow almost $2,000 and pay $1,500. That's congratulations to those of you who moved to that part of the country. I look at that as that's the benefit that you get for putting up with the cold.
Exactly. There's a trade-off, always a trade-off.
It's 100 degrees here in Texas today, but and then B, you can read these.
Sure.
Go through these.
Yeah, jurisdiction B is a little more than $1,300, and the 80% would be a little more than $1,000. So that's what you could expect to get paid. So you do know and this is the jurisdiction that Dr. Yatros and Dr. Drake in, and this is the lowest paid jurisdiction there is. We have the highest population of elderly people, or 65 and older, in the state of Florida, I would say. Yeah, the lowest paid region. Sometimes I think that that's synonymous with being in this gorgeous place that we live in. So, and then jurisdiction D pays a little more than $1,400, and this is estimated because they evaluate, Medicare being they evaluate this on a quarterly basis. So what we see is every quarter they do another analysis for this specific code, and when they do that, it usually increases in increments of about 20, 25, $50, something like that. And so since I've been with Dental Sleep Solutions about 3 years ago, I've seen it go up about $100, or in most regions it's even more than that in some other ones. So it incrementally goes up, so which is always good. They're always evaluating that, and it's always being increased, which is great. So, but if you're thinking about Medicare, or if you need to think about it, we're going to talk about a couple of things today. You have to pick one of these options with Medicare. If you're going to treat patients that with medical services, you have to either opt out of Medicare, which means you're not going to bill them, you're not going to treat, you can treat them as fee for service, but you're not going to bill, you're not going to file any claims to their insurance. If you want to have the Medicare application specifically for DME completed, you have the option to be participating or a non-participating Medicare provider. We're going to investigate each one of these so you can have the information to make a good business decision about what is best for you. So we're going to start with opting out. And when you opt out, you have to sign an affidavit within your jurisdiction saying, I'm not going to file any claims to Medicare. My patients aren't going to file any claims to Medicare either. We're just not going to deal with Medicare at all. The opt-out typically lasts 2 years, but due to some of the, relaxed criteria right now during the COVID, they're allowing doctors that have opted out in the past, they're allowing them to now join again. So they're making some, relaxing some of those restrictions. Like I said, you cannot bill Medicare. Patients can't submit the claim themselves, and you have to have the patient sign an advance beneficiary notice, or an ABN, because they have to have advance notice advising them that you are not a Medicare approved provider and you are not going to file a claim, and they can't either. So you have to have something still in place even if you opt out of Medicare. So that's one option. Then if you want to become a participating Medicare provider, which means you agree to accept Medicare's payment as payment in full, you would accept assignment of benefits and the payments would come to you, and you are required to file a claim for every patient that you see. You have to. And in some instances, you're still going to have the advance beneficiary notice. Not all of the time, but in some instances you will. And you can have an opportunity to change that status from participating to non-participating. Every year, usually in about November, they send a letter out. It may be at the end of October to say, do you still want to be a non-participating Medicare provider? So once you are participating, you can always change that status at the end of the year. So you do have some flexibility in there as well. So the next thing that we're going to look into is non-participating. That means you can still see Medicare patients and treat them for medical services, but you're not required to accept Medicare's payment and payment in full, which means you could balance bill the patient up to your full billable fee if you wanted to do that. We're not recommending that. Dr. Drake, are you non-participating as well? I can't remember.
I am non-participating.
Okay. So in your...
Yeah, and that just, again, I think everybody has to evaluate, how this works out, for you. So, just to recap what Lisa said, opt out, you don't deal with it.
Right.
But you still got to have them sign a form, okay? So you don't ever completely get away from Medicare. And I wouldn't count on them allowing you to get back in. Right now with the COVID-19 thing, you count on that lasting for 2 years. So just be sure that that's what you want to do.
Absolutely.
Now, if you were a cardiologist and 98% of your patients were Medicare age, then you pretty much have to participate.
Correct.
You're going to agree, you can charge $1,000. That's their fee for a heart catheter. And that's it. You can't charge any more than that. The advantage of non-participating is that you can balance bill the patient the difference. So in jurisdiction C, where I am in Texas, Florida, what is it, 1,300, something like
Yes.
that they allow,
Mm-hmm.
and our cash fee is 2,200. So if we charge 2,200 for a particular patient, then that difference between the 13 and the 22, we can actually bill that to the patient. So it's not as good for the patient, but a lot of patients have secondary insurance as well. So sometimes that secondary insurance will just pay the 20% that Medicare didn't pay, but sometimes they'll allow whatever you bill and they'll pay that amount as well too. So again, you got to figure this out on your own, but that's very good, Lisa. Now with Medicare, you got to pick one of these three.
Right.
I have chosen to be the non-participating because that works the best for me.
Right. Absolutely. And the other good thing about that is on a case by case basis, if you wanted to, if you had a patient that you wanted, I won't say a favor, but if you wanted to, because you knew it was a financial hardship for them, as a non-participating provider, you can accept assignment of benefits and the payment can come to you. And when you do that, then you can accept that payment as payment in full. And that way you're adding a value to that patient. So you can do that on a case by case basis. If you're participating, you don't have that flexibility. So, I mean,
Right.
yeah, so keep that flexibility. Again, you may have to have some advanced beneficiary notices in some instances, and you also have the opportunity to change your status at the end of the year as well. So you'll get a letter from Medicare asking you if that's what you want to do or if you're good to go with where you're at right then. And also, if you are participating or non-participating with Medicare, either one, that does not mean you have to provide dental services. This is a completely different Medicare application that needs to be completed for durable medical equipment. And when we're talking about that, the Medicare application process can be time consuming. Currently, right now, so there's some relaxed restrictions. They're expediting things due to the COVID-19 and trying to get those pushed through. Now is the time to, if you're thinking about it, I would go ahead and get in now because they're waiving some of the fees and other things that go along with that. And that's unprecedented for any government entity to relax things that much, but they want to make sure that the patients have access to care with dental providers for sleep apnea. But that doesn't mean that you're going to have to submit claims for any surgeries or anything else. It's in regards to dental maintenance, because Medicare doesn't cover dental maintenance, teeth cleaning, things like that. So you don't have to worry about that. And what we have found is that in most instances, if you have a high concentration of Medicare patients in your area, being a Medicare provider increases your referrals from primary care physicians. Would you agree with that statement, Dr. Drake?
Absolutely. I will tell you, I would go so far as to say that if you don't see Medicare patients, there'll probably be more doctors who simply wouldn't refer you any patient, not just a Medicare patient.
Right.
But it's almost like, I'm not sure what it's like. It's like, okay, Rich, he's a member of the dumb guys club too, because as doctors, we all have to do it. So, and if you don't do it, then I don't know what it is. But it definitely does make a difference in how many referrals you'll get. And if you market that, of course, sometimes you might not make as much on a Medicare patient with a dental sleep device, but you might get some patients in your office. Or again, the whole thing. Look at how the whole thing works. Don't just pick out one little part of it.
Right. Absolutely. The Medicare.
So how do we get this?
Yeah, absolutely. The Medicare application, they call it an 855S form. I've got the hyperlink in here. If anybody wants that information, I'll be glad to send it to you. You can just type into the box Medicare application. We'll make sure that we get you the link sent. It's about 65 pages long. And if you don't do it exactly as they want, they will reject that Medicare application and they will keep you in this circle of, I've got a word for it, but I'm going to say mess. They get you in this cycle of mess that you can't hardly get out of. I will tell you this. I think I've figured out part of the reason for that. And if we have any people that work with Blue Cross and Blue Shield very often, that's who Medicare subcontracts the Medicare application approval process to. So that probably sums it up in a nutshell, is why it can get in a vicious cycle. You can also do it online through the PAYCOS website, and third-party billers provide this service as well. If you're currently working with a third-party biller, reach out to them and ask the question. If you're not, I would encourage you to reach out to to some of the vendors that we have. 4-Pillar Billing is our billing subsidiary. We work with other vendor partners as well, like Pristine and GoGo and some of the other ones as well, that will be glad to do this for you. Even if you're not a DS3 member, they'll do this as a la carte for you. You're going to want to make sure you have somebody that's an expert to make sure that all of the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, because it can be really hard to navigate through. But if you want that application link, just let us know, and we will be glad to get that sent out to you as well. And just as a reminder, tell us a little bit about what DS3 does in case people aren't aware of what we do, Dr. Drake.
Yeah, well, like I said, I mentioned before, Guy and I started this, gosh, 100 years ago, it seems like now, or whatever. But, we really want to try to help dentists do this better. So we created a software as a service company, basically. And we believe that through screening, testing, treating, and billing, those are the 4 pillars. And we do that through educating people, and just helping them. And as you start to do this, you have 1,000 questions.
Right.
Who are you going to call? I've always thought that should be our theme song,
Right.
the Ghostbusters. Who are you going to call?
Absolutely.
Because we do that in our member support. We have a team of people who take these calls all day long, every day. And it's just like on this thing, we're getting questions, coming in that Brandy and Mike, for the most part, are answering. And, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. That's what we do. We help you do this. Can you practice dental sleep medicine without a software? Yes, you can. I don't think you do it as well. You don't. Where do you put your sleep test? Where do you do that? I mean, and I think about what we do in my office all day long, every day, and I just can't imagine doing that. So, and we do offer a consultation, for free. You can just give us a call, put it into the question box, just type consultation. Somebody will reach out to you, and we'll just see where you are in your practice, if there's anything that we can help you with, and go from there.
Absolutely. Thanks for going through that. And just a few housekeeping things. You will get a CE certificate. It'll be emailed to you in about 48 hours. If you don't get it within 48 hours, please check that spam or junk folder. For some reason, Google or the avenue in which we send them will want to send it to that junk folder all the time. So check there first. If you don't get it, then you can send a request to info@Dental Sleep Solutions, and we'll make sure that we get another one sent out to you. That way you have that. But yeah, so we're going to talk about commercial insurance policies, the Humanas and Aetnas and Cignas and United Healthcares and all the blues in the area as well. You have an opportunity to become an in-network or a participating provider with them. The process is very lengthy to become approved, and some companies just will not allow a dentist in network for durable medical equipment. They're just saying, nope, we won't allow it. And Blue Cross Blue Shield is region specific. Some of the other insurance companies are national, but they do it by state. So I may be able to get a doctor in network in Indiana, but I can't in Florida. Florida is really strict about that. I've been trying to get Dr. Yatros an in-network contract for about 3 years, and they're just dead set on not allowing a dentist to provide this service. They think oral surgeons, or they'll send them to a DME brick and mortar storefront. Now, that makes a lot of sense. So, that's where insurance companies will send them. If you do opt to be in network, you have to abide by that contractual agreement. So you negotiate, or you're provided with an allowable amount. You have to bill the insurance. If the patient comes through the door and you have a contract with United Healthcare, then you have to bill to United Healthcare. You're obligated to do that. The billing is easier, and what I mean by that is the financial conversation. It's a lot more cut and dry. You know exactly what your allowable is. You can know what the patient's benefits are, and you can tell them exactly how much they're going to owe you out of pocket. So, and most of the time, the deductibles for in-network are lower. So, but there is quite a bit of a lengthy approval process, even if it's allowed. The majority of 4-pillar billing clients are out-of-network providers. What we have found is that you have a lot of flexibility with being an out-of-network. You can accept assignment of benefits if you want to and accept their payment in full, and the checks will come to you, or you don't have to. And then And most of the time, what we see is the reimbursements are higher if you stay out of network than you do if you agree to a contract. So you're not as restricted. I had one of the insurance companies advise me that with an in-net contract, we're going to send you so much business. So that's why your allowable is going to be a lot lower than if you were out of network. And so I asked them, I was like, so you're telling me that if I call into customer service, your customer service rep is going to know if a patient knows that they need a dental sleep device, you're going to send them to me? And she said, yes. I said, I don't believe that. I don't believe that to be true at all. I'm pretty sure, because most of the time, if they called in and they said they needed a piece of durable medical equipment, even if the patient knows that word, they're going to send them to a brick and mortar storefront. They're not going to send them to a dentist. I said, you can't convince me of that. So that's when I tried to negotiate higher. I was like, I don't believe that. I said, I'll call the insurance company and ask. And she's like, oh, well, hold on. That's what I thought. I don't believe that to be true. So you're not going to provide me with that much more steerage, I can promise you. You do have to be more diligent about your billing and the process that you have in place in the systems, because the financial conversation can be more difficult because patients are used to having in-network providers. Worst case scenario, you can apply for gap coverage or an in-network waiver. And what that is if there is not a provider that's in-network in the area that provides the exact same service, you can get a one-time exception to take advantage of the patient's in-network benefits. It doesn't waive you in network for every patient with that insurance, just on a case-by-case basis. That's getting even more difficult to do. We've run into some challenges there where they're saying the patient or the primary care doctor has to initiate the in-network waiver. They don't know what they're asking for. So we've created some scripting. I'm really good at playing games as long as I know what the rules are. So I figured out some of the rules and I try to play on the same team as them. So I try to navigate through that to make sure that we're getting those patients treated. And then you can also do a fee for service option. So Dr. Drake, what do you think about a fee for service option? Have you ever considered that, or what do you think?
Oh, there are people out there who can sell ice cubes to Eskimos, and those are the people who should do this for sure. I love Mark Murphy. He does a lot of webinars with us, and he seems to be able to sell this and not have an issue. I can't. Every patient that walks in my office has the same question: how much does it cost, and what does my insurance cover?
Yep.
Can you help me? How much does it cost, and what does my insurance cover? So again, if you're in a very high-end area, people are used to paying cash, your dental practice has no insurance, maybe that fits for you, but it has to also fit with your personality, so, do you feel comfortable discussing the fees, or do you have somebody else in your office do it?
Right.
So you gotta figure all of this stuff out. And I think you can certainly make this work. There are people who do. I don't know of anybody in the country who does 100 devices a month fee for service.
Right. And like you said earlier, I feel like the biggest downfall for this is if you're going to, at some point in time, be dental sleep only. I think you're going to have a really tough time getting medical providers to send you referrals. I think it could be detrimental in a lot of instances. So, I mean, like you said, you have to just weigh out these options and see what works best for you. If you want additional information, please type in the word consultation into the question box. Somebody will get back to you, either myself or somebody from our member development team, and we can make sure that we get those questions answered for you. We're always very eager to provide and be a valuable resource for providers that are just interested, want to know more about it. So absolutely take care of that, and we'll be able to answer those questions for you. And Dr. Drake, you nailed it on the head. What every patient wants to know: how much does it cost? Do you accept my insurance? And what is my cost? So those are three big questions that get asked all the time. And the standard answer is it depends. And it depends on several different things. And that's not the answer that they want to hear a lot of the time, but you need to determine what those patients' benefits are. So you have two options. You can sit on the telephone and call the insurance companies, which right now, due to the heightened COVID stuff that's going on in the nation, we are spending, if we have to make a phone call to an insurance company, it's usually somewhere between 45 minutes to an hour to get the information that we need. That's usually about a good average, is about 45 minutes. And it's just to be on hold, get through, and ask the right questions. The good thing is within DS3, we have an instant eligibility check, which means you can run that patient's benefits without ever picking up the phone. And that can save a ton of time. And the instant eligibility check provides you with the plan status. It tells you if that plan is active. It'll help you determine if that's their primary or if it's not their primary insurance. Because like I said, they're going to bring in all these ID cards and they're just going to lay them out on the desk for you. And then it's going to provide you with their in and out of network deductibles and also their in and out of network coinsurance. What that's going to do is it's going to help you in several different ways. So why should you do this? Like I said, going to give you that plan status, but it's also going to give you that first glance at that patient's benefits to let you know if they are going to be somebody that you may want to give a cash option to, or if they should use their insurance, their medical insurance. We see a lot of insurance plans now that out of network, they have deductibles that are $7,000, $10,000. That's not unusual. So if they haven't met any of that deductible, why would you use their insurance? They're not getting anything, and you're incurring fees potentially from third-party billing companies. I may be talking myself out of a job, so don't tell nobody I said that part. But anyway, with that being said, you don't want to incur fees either in regards to having to file a claim to insurance, knowing that it's all going to be applied to the patient's deductible. And we have what we call a maximum out-of-pocket calculator. We call it the MOOP. We originally called it the MOP calculator. Dr. Yatros and I are both from Kentucky, so we were saying maximum out-of-pocket instead of out of. So we were quickly corrected, and now it's MOOP instead of MOP. But we provide our members with a MOOP calculator that will help you make that determination based on the benefits that are received back from the instant eligibility check to make that decision if you want to move forward with insurance, or if it best serves the patient and yourself to go ahead and treat that patient as a cash paying patient. So again, I know we were going over a lot of things tonight. Please type in consultation. We'll be glad to have our team. We have a whole team that's answering questions tonight. They'll be glad to answer any questions that you have. And we just want to make sure that we give you all the opportunity to get those questions answered, because medical insurance always stirs up a ton of questions. It just does. So the ultimate goal is for you all to get paid for saving lives. And I think everybody needs to find their why they do this. Everybody wants to get paid. I like to get a paycheck every 2 weeks. I enjoy that. And I know that you all want to do that too. But if you could save somebody's life, because I've heard Dr. Yatro say this several times, breathing is not overrated. People need to do that, especially now during the COVID-19 crisis that's going on. There's a ton of data out there now talking about the CPAP and how this dental sleep device is probably a better option right now, to where the CPAP isn't aspirating all of that into the air and things like that currently right now. So now's a really good time to start investigating this. So get paid for saving lives. And one of the biggest things, and I have a pet peeve, and we were talking about dentist earlier before the webinar started, and I think this is with all physicians, medical physicians as well. Documentation is key to getting claims paid. It's vital. In a lot of instances, if there's not medical documentation, you might as well not even file the claim. So there's medical and legal reasons why you want to do that. You're going to want to make sure that you have things documented to provide other doctors, that are servicing this member or patient as well. So you have a mutual patient. We use a lot of the documentation for our system generated letters from DS3 to a primary care doctor. Dr. Drake, how many letters did you say last time? I think that you sent out on a regular basis, usually on average, not during this time frame, of course, but on average, what would you say?
In a month or
Yeah,
a year?
in a month. Let's do a month. What do you think?
I think an average month for us is about 800 to 900.
So you're keeping a lot of doctors.
Letters.
Yeah, a lot of doctors just in the know about your mutual patient, which is phenomenal. So if you're not capturing that information, then how are you going to do that? Organization. I went to the doctor before I moved to Florida a couple of years ago. The doctor was reading my chart and he said, well, it looks like you had this done in whatever year it was. And I was like, no, it's not me. Come to find out, they had just gone to an EMR. So they had my daughter's chart and my chart mixed up. And I was like, nope, that wasn't me. That was her. Nope, not me. That was her. So organization. Have you ever seen a chart hit the floor and where paper goes? It just scatters. It's like mercury in a thermometer. It just goes everywhere. And like I said, communication with your patients and your MDs. And most of all for me, it's important for me. I am compliance driven. I'm going to push compliance and it will save you all every time. And in the medical community, if it's not documented, it did not happen. You cannot go to a court. You cannot, for a lawsuit or for anything else or an audit and say, well, they told me. If it's not written down, it never happened. So I can't stress documentation enough. I like this little graphic here. It's about a soap note, which I think is cute. I'm trying to improve my skills with my PowerPoint, so I've used this graphic because soap notes are so very important. And you need to have something in place that will help you navigate through the soap note format. That's what they're looking for in the medical community. So a lot of you may be familiar with this, but it's a subjective, objective, and assessment and plan for the patient. It just maps out that treatment plan. So within DS3 specifically, we have that SOAP note format, and you can plug the information in, sign the note electronically, and you're good to go. We just need to make sure that those notes are signed on a timely basis, which is probably another one of my small pet peeves with all physicians, not just dentists, all physicians. Make sure those notes are signed. Otherwise, they're not as valuable as the paper that they're written on or signed on. So when you're ready to submit that claim, you're finally at that part now where you've submitted a claim. You're going to need a letter of medical necessity or an LOMN. We require that you upload the lab slip, a proof of delivery, a sleep test with diagnosis. A pre-authorization is typically required on your commercial insurance policies. It is, I'm going to hazard a guess and say at 95% of the time, a pre-auth is going to be required. Medicare does not, therefore it's a little easier to do. And you may need an advance beneficiary notice for your Medicare patients for any particular reason, and SOAP notes. This is what's going to determine that medical necessity that the insurance companies look at the time that the claim is submitted. They don't look at things beforehand. The pre-authorization is just saying, yes, if you meet medical necessity, then we will process your claim because it is a covered service on this plan. A pre-auth is not a guarantee of payment. And a lot of providers get that confused. They're like, well, I had a pre-auth. I said, I absolutely understand that. All they did was they said, yep, we will cover this if all of these other things are met. So we try to go through a lot of this. Dr. Drake, I think that you've experienced this. Tell us what happens to paper charts.
Yeah, I was teaching a course in Omaha a few years back, and when I was driving to the airport, I remember there's just a lot of smoke, around the highway, and I was like, man, something's burning. When I got to Dallas, I turned my phone on, and the first message I heard was, hey, Rich, this is Barry. I'm at the gym on the treadmill, and I'm watching your office burn on the news.
Well, okay then.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So you got to have a plan in place. Sounds like you had that experience, right?
Yeah, so if you're back it up to the cloud. Most people are doing that these days. If you back it up to a hard drive, you got to take it off site every night. So, there's certainly in this day and age, there's a lot easier ways to do this than carry the pegboard system and that stuff around. The first dental practice I bought still used a pegboard system. Oh. Which I still like, to be honest. It was easy to do the math. What'd you charge or what'd they pay?
Yeah.
But anyway, we are a cloud-based software, and it's updated every week, and it's just a good system all the way through.
Yeah.
A couple of how much let's keep going.
Sure.
I've got a couple of questions that
Absolutely.
people are beating up a little bit here that I want to make sure that we get out.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and then like Dr. Drake said, his office burned, and what did they put fire out with water? So if it didn't burn, it got wet. So like I said, back things up to the cloud, make sure you have something in place to keep those regardless of what system you're using or anything else. We provide the education, coaching, and software. We're not just a software company, so we are backed up by the cloud, which is amazing. And that is a really good segue into what we're going to be looking at on July 7th as well. So we're going to have another presentation. I won't be on this one because I don't know anything about saving teeth. So that's not in my wheelhouse. I know a lot of things, but I don't know a lot about that. So Dr. Drake and Dr. Yatros will be hosting that on July 7th. You all will probably get an email. If not, you can go to DS3 if you have DS3, or if not, you can go to our website at ds3sleep.com and you can register for all of the upcoming webinars and see them all there as well. And tonight, Dr. Yatros is actually hosting a virtual GPS course. So he's going to have another one in June, and we're having one in 3 days in the evening in July as well. So those have been popular since the COVID-19. We've not been able to do a lot of them in person. So we've got Zoom meetings going, and we're trying to make sure that we get everybody the information that they need. And again, I want to thank DSG tonight for being our host. Between DS3 and DSG, we can provide your total dental sleep solution. So that complete 360 care and coverage for your patients. And this is the promo that I was going to be telling you all about. I told you if you hung in there until the end, you would get this. If you use the promo code for DSG, you're going to get $50 towards your first sleep case. So they're giving a promotional opportunity as well for anybody that's attending the webinar tonight. You can ask for that promo code. We'll make sure that we get it sent out to you. You can go to dentalservices.net/DS3 and you'll be able to get that promo code. So that's a great opportunity. So again, because you're attending tonight, that's an amazing opportunity for you all. And the 4 pillars, screen, test, treat, and bill. It's vital to your dental sleep medicine success. And we also have other information about the Insider magazine that they can register for. It's a digital magazine, has a ton of information. You can see Keith Thornton on there, and a lot of other people provide different information in regards to that. We have a plethora of people from sleep test companies to marketing to billing, you name it, it's in there. So again, we're excited to be able to have the opportunity to speak with you all tonight. We will go ahead and if you'll type in consultation into the question box, we'll make sure that we get you called back and have all your questions answered. And Dr. Drake, you said that we had some questions that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah,
Okay.
just looking through these. Our team has done a pretty good job for the most part of answering all of these. Dr. Asher has one about, we let's say we charge $2,500 and Medicare only allows $1,300 in my jurisdiction. But because I'm non-participating, I'm going to tell you how we do it. Hopefully you won't tell me I'm breaking the law or something here, because I always learn something on these as well. We know what they're going to pay. They're going to pay 80% of the $1,300. We have a spreadsheet where we've kept track for years and years and years of all the secondary insurers. So we usually have a pretty good idea of what the secondary will pay as well, because I've done it 1,000 times. So we know Medicare is going to pay $1,100. The secondary is only going to pay the other $250. So at $2,500, now we're $1,000 or $1,200, whatever the math works out to, then that's the patient portion. So I'm not exactly sure what he's asking, but it's why don't you just charge the $1,300 if all you know? Like I'm in network with Aetna, for example. Well, we still charge the $2,500, but my in-network fee is still less than that. So I think he's having a hard time with, am I not committing fraud? You know, I
Right.
guess maybe we are, if we're asking the patient to, if we're waiving all of that balance, but I'm not doing that.
Right. What most physicians do if they're non-participating, they will go ahead and ask the patient for their fee up front. I would ask for the $2,500 up front. I would not accept assignment of benefits, and the checks will go to the patient. So that $1,100 would go back to the patient and reimburse the patient that $1,100. The secondary claim would then be submitted in the 20% to where they would get $1,300 back, but you've collected all of your money up front. You are well within your rights as a non-participating provider to do that. That's one way of doing it. You can absolutely do that. That way the patient is being reimbursed and you've gotten your money up front, and that way you don't have to chase the patient down for that difference between the $1,300 and the $25. Because if you accept assignment of benefits and the checks come to you, that is saying you are accepting payment in full, and then you can't collect up to the $2,500. So you're going to want to make sure that those checks go to the patient and you do not accept assignment of benefits. Does that help answer the question, Dr. Drake, do you think?
I think, you know, if you're still on, Jay, you know, type something in there if that didn't get it. So again, you know, just remember that this is a game. I mean, it really is. You know, we have, you know, I'm in network with United Healthcare. So like Lisa said before, you know, one of the things she likes about this is that it's always changing, it's evolving, you know, and it's doing that. United Healthcare is now telling us that they want the notes from the primary care, the doctor face-to-face visit from before they had a sleep test.
Right.
That documents the medical necessity for the sleep test. And I'm thinking, this guy has severe sleep apnea. What difference does it make what the note said before? You know, but again, they're just throwing up hurdles and they're throwing up, you know, barricades, and they're throwing up blocks to figure out some, you know, ridiculous way to not pay for something, you know.
Absolutely.
And it's just a game. And I will tell you that if you're one of those people that whose blood pressure goes up, you know, when you have to deal with this, then don't deal with it. You know, get an intelligent staff person and then hire a third-party biller. And your only question then is, hey, Jenny, are we getting paid on all these claims? And before you say no, just don't say no, you know. So somebody said, repeat your last statement about accepting assignment.
Sure.
I think I could do that, but I'm going to let you do it.
Okay.
When you accept assignment, you're agreeing to whatever the insurance company is going to allow.
Correct. If you're, I'll talk about.
That's another way to look at it.
Yes. Medicare specifically, if you're non-participating, so you're a non-participating provider, that's your status, you can select to accept assignment of benefits or to not accept if you're non-participating. If you accept assignment of benefits for Medicare specifically, you are advising Medicare, I am willing to take on this one case your payment as payment in full for this one patient. If you do not accept assignment of benefits, you can balance bill the patient up to your full billable fee. Again, I don't recommend doing that, but you could. You're well within your rights, but the checks will go to the patient, not to you, for Medicare specifically. So that's with being a non-participating Medicare provider, you have that flexibility to make that decision. With commercial insurance companies, there are a lot of instances that if you accept assignment of benefits, the checks are still going to go to the patient as non-participating commercial provider, and then you can balance bill the patient as well. If you accept assignment, there are some chances that you may get the check. It may come to you, but you're identified as non-participating, they may still send a check to the patient. So not all of them, but some of them may do that as well. But you're agreeing to accepting that payment as payment in full. So that means you have to honor contractual write-offs, and you cannot balance bill the patient, and you lose that flexibility.
Yeah, Dr. DeSisvo said that is distinctly different from our dental insurance claim forms. So,
Absolutely.
uh, yeah,
Yes.
and don't, I think that's part of the challenge, as I've taught for years and years, dentists to do this. Um, you're crossing a line from dentistry into medicine. And, when I get up in front of physicians and I talk about dental sleep and I talk about side effects, they usually laugh at me. They go, oh, wow, your bite can change. It's like our side effects kill our patients. It's like, what's the big deal? If my bite changes a little bit. So there's this paradigm shift that you have to have as a dentist doing this. You know, the way you bill, I can tell from Dr. Asher, he kind of feels dirty doing this. It's like, hey, am I doing something illegal here? I
Right.
get that.
Hmm.
I've been doing it for 20 years, Jay, and I still feel like that a little bit. That's why I said, Lisa, don't tell me I'm doing something illegal here. I don't want to go to jail. But it's just different,
Yes.
and again, that's why you team up with somebody who can help you do this.
Hmm.
We keep tooting our own horn here, but we do most all of this stuff for free.
Hmm.
Guy and I are online, doing webinars pretty much every week of the entire year for free. We put together this magazine. We do everything that we can to help dentists do this. And you're going to have a lot of questions,
You
and
are.
you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And we say all the time that the only thing between medical billing and dental billing that are the same is the word billing. Everything else is absolutely bipolar opposite. Write-offs are common and very common in the medical world. They're encouraged, as a matter of fact, to, if there's a barrier, something keeping somebody from getting treatment, they encourage you to write things off, the American Medical Association. So, and then dentistry, because I don't have any dental experience. So, and when they were talking to me about, it's frowned upon and it's considered, I think overbilling, I think is the word that they used. I was like, huh, that doesn't make any sense to me, but because I have a lot of medical insurance background. So that didn't seem right to me. So I understand. But I have things from the American Medical Association documenting all of this information. I try not to ever make stuff up as I go ever. It's something I don't ever like to do. I'm too compliance driven for that. So
yeah.
absolutely, if you have any questions, you can type in the question box, just billing, and someone will get me the information, and I'll be glad to give you a call, and we'll talk one-on-one about it and give you some more information, and I can send you documentation and things like that as well. This PowerPoint's going to be uploaded to Dental Sleep Solutions YouTube channel. So it'll be available as well. If you'll give us about 48 hours to get that uploaded as well, you'll have access to it again. So we try to provide you with all of this education, like Dr. Drake said, free of charge. We just trying to get the word out there so you know what your options are and how to move forward with saving lives and getting paid for what you're doing. So
Here's a couple more.
sure.
Can the amount be collected in full then in this scenario? I'm not sure what that refers to, so let's do that. Let's do a different one.
Okay.
Um, why do you not suggest to balance bill to the full amount on Medicare patients
I feel like that.
when non-accepting?
Well, I guess it's going to depend. I'll go back to it depends. A lot of because when you set a fee to bill to insurance companies, you need to take into consideration a lot of overhead and things like that, and you have to bill consistently across the board. The average billable fee to an insurance company for the dental device, we see on national average, like I said, across the United States, we bill for probably about 400 plus dental offices at four pillar billing, and we see anywhere between $5,000 and about $6,500 as an average. We have some providers in New York that bill $9,000 for the dental device. That's not unusual. So I don't think that it would be in the best interest to charge a patient a full $6,500 when they're getting reimbursed. Um, 14, 15, even $1,900. If you decide on what you are comfortable with at providing this service to where it's something that you can live with and feel good about, I would set that fee that you're willing to accept for treatment, because you are going to get an option to potentially make more if the patient has a different supplemental insurance on Medicare. Um, again, I think it's just a feel-good thing for me. Maybe that's maybe where that came from. Dr. Drake, what is your opinion?
Oh, I agree, with all of that. It's depends it's not a scapegoat in this
Right.
particular instance. It really does. You just have to think about it. And I will tell you, for you new dentists and dental sleep, you're going to feel weird about billing, $5,000. You just heard Lisa say that 4-pillar billing, they bill for 400 dentists every single month, and the average is between 5,000 and 6,500. So that's just the way that the medical insurance world works.
Right.
It just is. And then they and the crazy thing too is the more that you bill, the more they allow. If we've built 4,000 on one case and they allow 2,000, and we bill 4,500 6 months later and they allow 2,300. I don't understand why they do what they do. I don't, but I will tell you, you just have to get over that. Team up with somebody who's good at this, who does this for a living, and who's not going to get you in trouble, when we do this. Yeah. For commercial insurance, does collecting their deductible count as balance billing?
It does not. Their deductible is part of what they call the patient responsibility. So that is not balance billing. Balance billing would be if you collected the deductible amount and you wanted, let's say that the insurance company paid $3,000 and the patient had a $500 deductible, and you got $500 from the patient and the insurance company paid $2,500. Balance billing would be if you paid, or if you were paid the $3,000 in total between patient cost and the insurance payment, but you billed the insurance $6,500, then you could bill the patient up to that $6,500. So you could balance bill them that difference between what you got paid and up to your full billable amount. That's balance billing.
So deductibles don't count towards that.
Correct.
And we're seeing a lot of people with higher deductibles now. So somebody said, hey, why can't I just, do cash pay on one and do, insurance with this one and that? You can do any of those.
Yes.
You can do it any way you want. If your cash fee is $2,500 and a guy has a $10,000 deductible, he may go, hey, what if I just, bring you $2,200 bills, 22 of those little green things with 100 on them. Would you take that? I would say, yes, I would, in a heartbeat, I would do that. And then we're not going to file your insurance.
Correct.
We're not going to mess with it. We're not going to do it. So let me make sure that that's clear. When we do a cash pay for that, I can discount my fee if I want, but I can't do that with the insurance. I can't, the patient's portion is $1,000, after the deductible and everything. I can't discount that, but I can discount them on the cash up front.
Absolutely. The Office of the Inspector General, under the prompt pay discount laws that are in place, if a provider provides a service and the patient wants to pay cash, as long as you are not an in-network provider for that patient's insurance, you can absolutely give them a cash discount. They consider that, like I said, under the prompt pay laws, you can do that because it's an immediate return on your investment. So you get your revenue immediately. Your cost is discounted because you're not using a billing service. The patient gets a discount as well based on what their deductible truly is. So you can absolutely do that in medical insurance.
See there, I learned something. The prompt pay laws,
Yes.
whatever the heck you call that.
Yep.
It certainly makes sense. What's the saying about a bird in hand is better than one in the bush, right? So
exactly.
That's kind of what we're doing here. We're getting the bird in hand, and you hand me that.
Yeah, absolutely. So are there any other questions? I think we're right about our time, and I like to be respectful of everybody's time. So are there any other questions you think?
Through here.
Sure.
No, Mike and Brandy have done a great job.
Good.
Of going through this. I don't know what happened with Jay. He never did respond. He must have left and got mad. So
I'll reach out to him tomorrow. I'll get his information from the webinar report and I'll give him a call. We'll talk about some stuff.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, awesome, Lisa. As always, you're such a wealth of knowledge with this stuff. I know some, there. This just generates the most questions
It
of
does.
any, webinar topic that we do, and we do a whole lot of different types of webinars, and it's complicated.
It
It
is.
really is. I
It
mean,
is.
it is the most complicated part of doing this outside of managing my staff.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to say that's the most complicated thing that I do at my office, how we deal with insurance and what we do. So, I have a couple of full-time employees
Mm-hmm.
who help me with insurance things. We have a full-time employee. Her name is Pam, and she's wonderful. And all she does is chase down doctor notes and sleep studies
Yep.
and letter of medical necessities. I mean, I have a full-time employee who does that, and that's all she does. So
Right.
when you think about doing this, if you have a busy general dental practice,
Mm-hmm.
you can't add 5 dental devices a week with the staff that you have. We talk about a sleep ambassador, somebody who can help you do that kind of thing. But again, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So if
Right.
you're just getting into this, I would encourage you to get online. There are a lot of people out there that teach a lot of this.
Mm-hmm.
Learn everything that you can, and I would recommend that if you don't team up with Dental Sleep Solutions, team up with somebody who can help you do this, because you're going to have a
Absolutely.
lot of questions.
Absolutely.
But you've done a great job as always, Lisa, with this.
Thank you.
So
Yeah, like I said, if you have any questions, you can give us a call at 877-95-SNORE or contact us at info@dentalsleepsolutions.com, and somebody from our staff will be glad to give you a call back. We're also having that virtual GPS course, so check that out on the website. If you want to know more about dental sleep, you'll get to spend 3 days for about, I think it's 2.5 hours with Dr. Yatros talking about dental sleep and how you can bring that into your practice. And if you have any other questions, you can type consultation into the box. We'll make sure that we get your answers taken care of. We will be pulling a report as well and making contact with people who had questions that maybe they didn't stay on or they weren't answered. And we'll make sure that we get you all the answers that you need. And Dr. Drake, it's always a pleasure.
thanks again, Lisa. Everybody have a good night. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks. Have a great night.